Hi, I'm Glenn Simpson, and I've collected comics for over 40 years, and I'm showing off my collection one box at a time. Today, we're looking at box number 46. It's a very dark box. It's dark this, dark that, Dark Avengers, and Dark Knight, and Dark Reign, and Darkseid. So if you like dark stuff, this is the box for you. I hope that you will like and comment and subscribe and let me know what you think. If there's anything that you see here where it's in a pack and you'd like for me to do a video showing the rest of what's in that pack, I'll be happy to do that. But for now, here we go with box 46. All right, as mentioned, we are going to see things that are starting with the word dark all throughout this box. And we start with Dark Ages, kind of an Elseworlds, not canon series about there's a big magnetic pulse and all electronics stop working and the superheroes are still trying to exist in a world where that's the case. So that's issue 1. And they resolve that whole problem in issue 6 right there. Then we have Dark Angel number 6. So this series started off as Hell's Angel, and then they got sued by the actual motorcycle club called the Hells Angels, and so they had to change the name to Dark Angel, which is why we're starting on issue 6. So, and we have, this is another UK title, and Dark Angel is teaming up with Excalibur. Right there, and that continues through issue 12. Right there. I mean, the UK heroes are mostly pretty cool, you know, because they were just more superheroes. I always love me some superheroes. Issue 12. We've got our next bit of darkness is Dark Avengers, written by Brian Bendis, and these are the villains disguised as heroes and become the new Avengers. And the general public doesn't know that they all used to be villains. Kind of a turn on the Thunderbolts concept. And they're led by Norman Osborn and that kind of thing. Part of the Dark Reign period. Number 1. We've got a crossover between Dark Avengers and the X-Men. The Utopia crossover. So chapter 5 of that. Got X-23 going up against Daken, who was impersonating Wolverine at the time. Got Dark Avengers number 9. Ares going up against Nick Fury. I think Nick Fury's a little outclassed there. Make sure we're focused. And that series ends, well, it kind of ends with issue 16, but it goes on to become another Thunderbolts series, actually. It picks up from there, so that's that series. The Dark Avengers part ends at 16 as part of Siege. Along the way, they had, oh, I'm sorry, wait, I said that wrong. Hang on. Along the way, we've got Dark Avengers Annual here. Chris Bacalo doing cut artwork. The new Marvel Boy showing up in there. Said that back. I think that was the Thunderbolt series ended and became Dark Avengers. So I think this was the Thunderbolt series was on issue 174, and so it ended, and Dark Avengers picked up its numbering or something like that. But there's a tie there, as you can see. So that's issue 175. We got Flor, which is a clone of Thor that they grew when Thor was missing. We got 182. Mr. Hyde, Power Man, Luke Cage trying to be in charge of a team Man-Thing, Satana, Juggernaut. Right there, 182. 183. The rest of the other side of that little crossover. Songbird. Doxy. Whatever. Trick Shot that taught Hawkeye, Son of Hulk. That weird spider guy with the multiple arms. 83. And that series ends with issue 190 with a very pensive shot of Scar sitting in a tree. While that was going on, we had an Ares, Dark Avengers Ares miniseries happen. Looking for his son, if I recall correctly. Issue 1 through issue 3 of Dark Avengers Ares. And a couple of one-shots that went with that X-Men crossover. Dark Avengers, Uncanny X-Men, Exodus, right there. Dark Avengers, Uncanny X-Men, Utopia. Looks like the Dark Avengers are coming out on top. Well, they do have the Sentry on their side. It's kind of easy to win when you got the Sentry. Dark Avengers. We move on to an amalgam book. Dark Claw. Kind of a cross between Batman and Wolverine, but in the animated, kind of an animated universe, like the Batman cartoons. Dark Claw Adventures. And then we get to the recent DC miniseries that started off just being called Dark Crisis. All the heroes get together, fighting off the Great Darkness and Pariah from the original Crisis, issue 1. By the time we get to issue 7, we have the full title, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. And we've reached the dawn of the DCU, which really doesn't change much. That's issue 7. Being a good crossover event, had lots of one-shots. There's a couple of them. Dark Crisis Big Bang, the fight through the multiverse. This miniseries took us from 52 Earths back to an uncountable number of them. So we had lots and lots of universes. Pay no attention to what they said in Convergence. Nobody pays any attention to Convergence. This was the series that brought back the more than 52 universes. And there's a little bit of roaming around through those universes. In that one, we've got Dark Crisis Warzone. Different characters going out of Red Canary and Raven against the Spectre, and just all kinds of stuff going on. One of the significant things that happened in Dark Crisis is the Justice League was thought to be dead for a while, and so each of them got a little one shot saying what they were doing, but they were really like moved off into this world of, this is a world that the world they always wanted to live in, or something like that. And so here we have the Batman version of that, and we have the Wonder Woman version of that with some backups as well. Also during this, we had Dark Crisis Young Justice, which I read it. I didn't follow it very well, didn't enjoy it very much. Seemed to be somebody was trying to make a statement, and I don't know what statement they were trying to make, but it was not an entertaining one. So issue 1 through issue 6. But hey, at least it had a Red Tornado appearance. Always a fan of Red Tornado actually getting to show up and do something. So that's issue 6. got the comic book adaptation of The Dark Crystal, a movie from the 80s, Jim Henson, almost entirely done through puppets and muppets and that sort of thing. No humans allowed. It's an epic fantasy adventure film. Had a prequel series that didn't do very well for some reason. It's issue 1. Runs through issue 2. Right there. Got some Dark Knights metal stuff, but technically this is Dark Days, the casting. So a little prelude to Dark Knights metal there. Similarly, we've got Dark Days, The Forge. I don't remember what's going on here, but you know, Batman seeing a big scary Batman in another world, traveling into the dark multiverse probably, and seeing some dark multiverse stuff. We've got Darkdevil, so from the world of Spider-Girl and Next and all of those MC2 universe. We've got Darkdevil, which was the future Daredevil character who was actually kind of demonic, and he would help out Spider-Girl sometimes, and still fighting the dadgum Kingpin. That runs issue 1, runs through issue 3 with some future version of Scryer going on right there. Another UK book was Dark Guard, kind of a team-up book for all of the UK heroes that had books out at the time. Got, what's his name? Got Motormouth and Gunpowder and Motormouth and all kinds of, oh shoot, what's his, oh, anyway, lots of these British characters. And that runs through issue 4. That's Motormouth. I don't know. For some reason, I remember her. Yeah, that's pretty art. Then we have, of course, the breakout character of the 1990s. We've got Darkhawk. There's been so many people think that they're going to do something with Darkhawk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and so far, Zipola, nothing. So I don't know. You decide for yourself if that's ever going to happen. But the cool series from the 90s. Guy finds an amulet that lets him turn into this armored critter and switches bodies with it, and hilarity ensues. So that's issue 1 of Darkhawk. Issue 2 gets to fight Hobgoblin and team up with Spider-Man in his second issue. That's pretty auspicious right there. Issue 2. By the time we get to issue 8, he's fighting somebody called Lodestone, who is his greatest challenge so far anyway. Issue 8. In case he needs some more help, he can team up with the Punisher. There, Punisher's bad influence on him. Issue 9, Darkhawk. Issue 12, he had the thing in his chest got ripped out, and he's all kind of weak, and he can't change back to his normal self, and he's gotten on the bad side of Tombstone, who's chasing him, and I think Tombstone wants the stone out of his chest, something like that. So it's issue 12. I mean, Darkhawk gets around, man. I mean, next we have him, hanging out with Venom. It's what you do, right? When you're a major superhero, you eventually run into Venom, and of course, Darkhawk's a major superhero, right? So that's issue 13. Have a little jump to issue 20 with some Liefeld-esque art, but it's still Mike Manley with fighting the Blob. teaming up with Sleepwalker, who is, of course, the #2 hero of the 1990s. Guest starring Spider-Man in there somewhere. There in issue 20. Issue 21. This is a multi-part series, Return to Forever, finding out where the stone came from and all that kind of stuff, getting some more information on why, you know, what is Darkhawk, why is Darkhawk, how is Darkhawk. So that's issue 21. And make sure I'm saying this right. Then he comes out of it. I thought he had a new suit, but no, not yet. 26, teaming up with the New Warriors. The #3 set. No, I'm just kidding. We got some Firestar and some Namorita, Nova, Night Thrasher, Silhouette, Speedball. Teaming up with them. I think he kind of becomes a member. Issue 26. Issue 27. Going on a time travel adventure, probably with Zarko, because that's Zarko's bag. He's another one of those time guys, like Kang, sort of bargain basement Kang. With the New Mutants, New Warriors still around. Issue 27. By issue 33, he's just fighting a big squiddy thing. There. I think it was some kind of fish, because it's not. It's a dude. And he's got tentacles. Anyway, Darkhawk fighting this guy in issue 34. Issue 38. Hey, now we got a new suit. There you go. A new Darkhawk, better and improved in issue 38. Issue 39. And new and improved Darkhawk, going on the amulet quest. Right there. Issue 42. So he's gotten separated, right? So now they're walking around. There's two, you know, they got his own body, and there's a copy of him walking around as Darkhawk. And then he's got to try to convince his parents that he's Darkhawk, but he's not Darkhawk anymore. But he is, but they're now two different people. So that makes it that much harder to tell somebody that, you know, you are Darkhawk when Darkhawk is literally walking around somewhere else at the same time. So, but that's some of what's going on there. Of course, 42. Chris Powell. Now that name comes to my mind. Darkhawk 43. This character Portal shows up. He was a teleporting character who had bits, and it looks like he had, you know, salvaged bits from various other characters, and had a Darkhawk helmet, which is what put him on Darkhawk's radar. And then issue 47. Right there, comes back to Earth. Everybody's shooting at him. Oh shoot! Right. Issue 48. Got to edit something into a video that I already shot. Anyway, issue 48. Right there, and the series ends with issue 50, the final issue. Right there. Except it wasn't really the last issue. It kind of was, as part of the legacy thing that Marvel did, where they brought back series, and for one more issue. They brought back one issue of Darkhawk, which would be issue 51, years and years and years later. Outside of order here. One moment. Okay. So then we have some Darkhawk Annual, issue 1. There, teaming up with Iron Man, multi-part storyline, Assault on Armor City. Issue 2, new villain, Dream Killer. I think this was like a Sleepwalker associated character. 4 great Darkhawk stories. What else could you ask for? I think those last few issues of Darkhawk were not very well, not a lot were printed, and would apply to Annual 3, so that's why they're red dot books. Annual 3 right there. And Darkhawk got a mini-series a few years ago. Right there, 30 years of Darkhawk. So issue 1, and that runs through issue 5. Right there. And then you had another one-shot around that time with looking like Hayden Christensen. So another Darkhawk, Heart of the Hawk one-shot. Then we've got Darkhold, so part of the Midnight Suns with an O, right up there with Ghost Rider and Morbius and all those other series that got series during the 90s. And this was all about this little team. This little imp goes around giving people pages from the Darkhold, and when they accept the pages, things go crazy. So this little group of psychics and whatnot are out there trying to stop him from doing that. And it starts with the rise of the Midnight Suns. So issue 1 is part 4 of that first storyline. So that's issue 1. It runs through issue 8 right there. Issue 9 there. By the way, you don't normally see this D&D, Dragon Month, whatever. You don't normally see color in that box because that's expensive. They paid a lot of money for that. Anyway, Darkhold 9 right there. Darkhold 13. I couldn't even tell you what's going on in these things. Monsters, vampires, demons, all that good stuff. There's 13. You would think that the Scarlet Witch would show up, but no. But this is Vicky Mountesi chick. She's kind of the stand-in for the Scarlet Witch in that sense. She's very tied to the Darkhold. So issue 14, and the whole thing ends with issue 16. Something. All right. Then there was a Darkhold series from a couple of years ago. It had an Alpha and an Omega. I think something about Dr. Doom needed a team to go in and solve a problem, but going in to the Darkhold to solve the problem was going to drive you crazy. So each issue was the heroes dealing with their own crazy. And so that's the Alpha. That's the Omega issue of Darkhold. The one-shots included Darkhold Black Bolt and Darkhold Wasp. So each of these was just kind of a one-shot story about the character in a dark world instead of their normal bright and shiny self in a very dark and scary world. So that's issue of the Wasp. And just got a sort of a one issue of Dark Horse Comics, which issue 1 with a Predator on it, which was, this was an anthology with several different features in it. RoboCop, Predator, that kind of thing. And I just, for some reason, only have this first issue of it. So there you go. Got this Dark Knight Returns, the Golden Child, one of a few odds and ends that were published that take place in the world of the Dark Knight Returns, the Frank Miller series. So I didn't get all of those, but for some reason I have this one. It's Dark Knight Returns, the Golden Child. Then we get back into some death metal, or a death metal kind of thing. Dark Knight's metal tie-in, Dark Knights Rising, The Wild Hunt. So you got your Batman who laughs, these little crows, things like that in there. And then you go to Dark Knight 2, TWO. That's why we're getting them in this order. So, the sequel to the original Dark Knight Returns. There, that's issue 1. And that runs through issue 4 of that. Got the major motion film Darkman from the 90s, or late 80s. Right there. He's a guy, he gets burned. They use this experimental skin to heal his burns, but it turns out that the skin melts away under sunlight, so he can disguise himself as anybody. But if he's out too late, if he gets too much light on his skin, then the skin melts away. And he also, like, his nerve endings are all dead, so he can, fight and fight and fight and not feel any pain. So issue 1, issue 2, right there. I think this is not the movie No, yeah, this is the movie adaptation. This issue 2. This had Liam Neeson in the main, as the main character, back when he wasn't, quite that big a deal. Issue 3, which for some reason, I don't know why, somebody paid a lot of money for issue 3 one time, so now that's what it's considered to be worth, a lot. Got Darkman. Now he got his own little short series of news stories. Theater of Madness. Blah. And I don't know if this is the last issue or what, but that is let me see, issue 3, I think, right there. And that's either the last issue or my last issue. Got a one-shot, Dark Nemesis. This was so that we had the second Teen Titans group that was had none of the originals in it. That were just a set of kids who found themselves with powers and became a new group of Teen Titans. And at one point they fought a group called Dark Nemesis. So then Dark Nemesis got their own miniseries. Or one shot. This guy, the Darkness, from the Witchblade series, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Don't know much about him. Just picked this up. He's a gangster. He's got some kind of magical powers. Mark Silvestri, if I'm not mistaken, at least created him. Maybe he didn't do the art in this particular thing. So this got this one shot right here, and then Darkness and the Hulk. So kind of a team up right there between Top Cow and Marvel, teaming up those two characters. And alphabetically, before we get to Dark Knight's Metal, we have to do Dark Knight's Death Metal, even though the series came out in another order. So the DC heroes travel into a world where everything is metal. It's really about the dealing with new forms of metal that have magical form abilities, and it gets into the fabric of the universe and what is the dark multiverse. And at the end of it all, they say that all the heroes remember everything of their past lives and from previous reboots, but then nobody barely even talks about that ever again, so don't pay too much attention to that part. Anyway, that's issue 1 right there. And got issue 2, Dark Knight's Death Metal Raw. And then excuse me. And then that ends with Death Metal 7. This variant cover got Batman Who Laughs silhouette on it. This, of course, the series is famous for generating the Batman Who Laughs with a Batman Joker kind of cross. Not a fan. Anyway, that's issue 7, or a variant of issue 7. And of course, like any good event, it's got lots of one-shots and stuff. So we've got a guidebook with little character bios and things. We've got Multiverse's End. Got all kinds of... Now this I liked. Lots of heroes from across the multiverse getting together to fight a common foe. You know, different Earths within what was at the time was just the 52. So the Superman from his world, and this is the one from the Wonder Woman from a different world, and Captain Carrot and Uncle Sam and the Tangent, Green Lantern, and all kinds of stuff. Vampire Batman and regular Guy Gardner and things like that. Death Metal, Dark Knight's Death Metal, Rise of the New God. I think this had to do something to do with the Batman Who Laughs becoming even more powerful. There we go. Dark Knight's Death Metal, The Last 52, War of the Multiverse. So we've got pretty cool cover here, and by what's his name that's doing all the cool covers nowadays. And tons of characters, lots going on there, and it's sort of like, you know, the final battle, or an expansion of the final battle that's going on in this series. Go to Dark Knight, Death Metal, The Last Stories of the DC Universe. So this was more of a Titans-focused thing, and which I enjoyed, because of course they're some of my favorite characters. They have kind of a quiet moment amongst themselves. And issue the Dark Knight's Death Metal Trinity Crisis, return of the Anti-Monitor and Superboy Prime and that kind of thing, getting all up in there. So lots of stuff being revisited. Death Metal, but before that you had just plain old Dark Knight's Metal. So this was kind of during the latter part of the New 52, that kind of thing. Cyborg still in the Justice League, and you've got Dad Superman and that kind of group. And they're getting ready for a fight. That runs through issue 6, riding the Joker Dragon. So things changed quite a bit from issue 1 to 6. Now you had everything normal back there, and now we're riding Joker Dragons. I mean, what's the world come to? So that's issue 6 of that. And now for something completely different. During the Dark Reign period at Marvel, we had a few series that had Dark Reign as part of the title. So we have Dark Reign Elektra, her having there's a variant edition of this issue 1. There, her having an adventure as part of that. issue 5. There was the Fantastic Four. Got into it, and Fantastic Four, or Dark Reign Fantastic Four, Mark Brooks, some stuff, doing some art there. Mark Brooks, yeah. Oh, Simone Bianchi maybe, and Mark Brooks. I don't know. There's lots going on. Issue 1, issue 5, right there. With remember, put it right. Does that help me see it? Nope, it doesn't. Anyway, right there. Can't remember that guy's artist's name, but Dark Reign. Got the Dark Reign Files, which is one of those kind of official handbook of the Marvel Universe sort of things. Letting you know about all the characters that are major Dark Reign involved. Got Dark Reign Hawkeye. Andy Diggle having an adventure with Hawkeye. Right there. Running through issue 5. So there. I can't remember if that's really Hawkeye or if that's a trick shot disguised as Hawkeye, now that I think about it. I don't remember. One or the other. There. Got Dark Reign Lethal Legion. We got the Grim Reaper and Necra and Absorbing Man. Some of those guys getting back together. Issue 1. And they're all getting their butt kicked by Norman Osborn as the Iron Patriot by issue 3, right there. This one-shot Dark Reign Made Men. I got this fairly recently, and yet I still don't remember what the heck's going on in it. But it's a one-shot from that crossover. Got Dark Reign New Nation. Nick Fury pulling together all the heroes to deal with Norman Osborn and his Dark Reign, as it were. Dark Reign the Hood, little adventure as a Dark Hood, as seen in the Ironheart TV series. Right there, issue 1. Oops. Ooh, that's a mess. Hang on. How did that happen? Let's see, that's 1, 2. Yikes. Oh, I see what it is. Okay. Alright, so I have issues 1 and I have issue 5. I don't actually have the rest. I'm working on that. So that really shouldn't be in a bag together, but hey, I know what I'm doing. Then we have, let me quickly put these back in the bag. Dark Reign, Sinister Spider-Man. So this is, I believe, the former Scorpion, Matt Gargan, in the Venom outfit, having an adventure. And that's issue 1 through issue 4, which makes me think that Hawkeye thing was trick shot, in fact. So there you go. This scene does not happen in the book. Got Dark Reign, the Cabal, Norman Osborn making deals with some of the other big baddies. Doom, Loki, Lady Loki. Dark Reign, the Goblin Legacy, a one-shot. Norman dealing with the fact that, oh yeah, didn't I used to be the Green Goblin? I should probably address that in some way. There. And then we've got a series of one-shots where Norman Osborn has his list of people he doesn't like, and now that he's in power, he's going to go after them. So here we have Amazing Spider-Man, or Dark Reign, the list, the Amazing Spider-Man, #1, Dan Slott writing. Got Dark Reign, the list, Hulk, pretty cover, going after, Norman's going after the Hulk there, Greg Pak writing on that. It's really kind of like all the regular books, just spinning an issue, having them deal with Norman Osborn. I guess Norman sends Daken after Punisher. Right there, Romita Jr. doing art on that. And then sending Namor, I guess, or they're going up against the X-Men right there in Dark Reign, the list, X-Men #1. If we go to Dark Reign Young Avengers, so a different team of Young Avengers than the team that we normally know of as the Young Avengers, right there, that are under, they're all under Norman Osborn's control, and they get into it with the original Young Avengers right there, getting into a fights, giant peoples getting into fights. Issue 5. And then finally we got this one-shot New Year's Evil from some 5th week event, and this is a one-shot talking with the background on Darkseid focused issue, written by John Byrne right there. So, and that is all of that box. Okay, so that was 46. Next time we get into 47, we're going to still have a few more dark things. We're going to get into some Dazzler and finish it up with some DC books that actually have DC in the beginning of the title. So I hope you'll be here then. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day.